On this channel, I always try to give you guys an unfiltered view on what it's like to be a doctor. Not just the highs, but also the lows. The years in school, the long hours, the sacrifices, but also the moments that make it worth it. But naturally, I get a lot of questions from you guys asking whether or not it's worth it to become a doctor over, say, a nurse practitioner or a physician assistant, both of which require less training and opportunity cost. Now, although there's a lot of factors to consider, today we're gonna go over strictly the financial aspect of becoming a doctor versus NP or PA. We'll look at things like salary, training, tuition, opportunity cost, and we'll see who comes out ahead in the short term and the long term. Let's get into it. For those of you guys who are new here, my name is Sean Anderson and I'm a second year anesthesiology resident based in San Diego, California. Now, what's the difference between a doctor, PA, and NP? Doctors have the highest level of training within medicine. They're licensed by state boards and do not require any supervision to treat patients once they complete residency training. And throughout the residency training, they specialize in specific areas of medicine. Physician assistants can diagnose and treat patients and prescribe medications under the supervision of a physician. And nurse practitioners are nurses that have completed additional training to diagnose illnesses, create treatment plans, and prescribe medications within their training or scope. And depending on the state, they can actually practice independently without a supervising physician. As far as length of training goes, doctors require 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of medical school, and then anywhere from 3 to 7 years of residency, plus or minus fellowship. PAs require 4 years of undergrad and 2 to 3 years of PA school. And before PA school, they typically require a certain amount of hours of direct patient contact, usually as a nurse, EMT, paramedic, respiratory tech. And then nurse practitioners require 4 years of undergrad and then 2 to 4 years post-RN. And some programs require you to have 1 to 2 years of clinical experience as an RN before you can matriculate. Now, by the time they're done with training, doctors tend to be between the ages of 29 and 33, PAs are between the ages of 26 and 30, and NPs finish between the ages of 25 and 30 on average. Now let's get into the information that you guys have been waiting for, the salaries. For the most accurate salary data based on real salaries shared by verified clinicians, I'll be using Merit. So the average physician salary in the United States is about $433,000 per year, and that's working about 45 hours per week with an average of 5 weeks of PTO. If we go to physician assistants, the average salary in the United States is about $145,000 per year, and that's working an average of 40 hours per week with 4.5 weeks of PTO. And then nurse practitioners make on average $143,000 per year, working an average of 40 hours per week with an average of 4.5 weeks of PTO per year. With that being said, there is significant variation depending on the specialty that you work in. For example, if you're a physician working in family medicine, the average salary is $301,000 per year. And you can see that there are family med doctors that are making closer to $500,000 per year, which is pretty insane. But then you have people on the lower end making closer to $200,000 per year. So even within specialties, there's a lot of variance. However, orthopedic surgeons on average make $733,000 per year, and you see some of them on the lower end making closer to $400,000. And on the higher end, some of them are making over $1 million per year. But something else to consider is that the orthopedic surgeon works on average 10 more hours per week, which over the course of a year is a lot more work. Orthopedic surgeons also spend a lot more time in training before they ever reach the salary. As far as PAs go, the average family medicine PA earns about $138,000 per year, but then the PAs that work in dermatology are earning closer to $170,000 per year. Family medicine NPs actually earn a similar salary to family medicine PAs and are earning $132,000 per year on average. And then NPs that work in dermatology are earning $183,000 per year. If you look at the variance though between the highest and lowest percentiles of salary earnings, you can see that between the NPs and PAs and the physicians have much greater variance between what a top earner is earning and what a bottom earner is earning, which shows that physicians have much higher salary ceilings and earning potentials than PAs and NPs. Another thing to consider when you're thinking about salary is geographic location. There's a saying amongst doctors that you get to choose 2 out of 3 things: salary, location, and lifestyle. So if you have a good location and lifestyle, you're usually compromising on salary. It's very challenging to find a job that has all 3. And that's where tools like Merit come in to really help you analyze the data and find a place that's best for you to practice. So for example, the average salary for physicians in California is about $440,000 per year, but the average salary for physicians in Vermont is much lower at $332,000 per year. Physician assistants in California earn $167,000 per year, and physician assistants in Vermont earn $134,000 per year. And the nurse practitioners that work in California earn on average $173,000 per year versus NPs in Vermont earn on average $158,000 per year. So these differences can be significant, but then you have to factor other things in like taxes, which is beyond the scope of this video. So now that we know what they earn, let's talk about how much tuition costs. According to the Education Data Initiative, the average cost of medical school tuition for a 4-year program is about $238,000, which breaks down to about $59,000 per year. Although this can vary between institution type and location, ranging from $167,000 for in-state public schools to $275,000 for out-of-state private schools. The average cost across all PA programs for in-state tuition for a 27-month physician assistant program in 2025 is $98,000 per year, while the average cost for out-of-state tuition is about $107,000 per year. Now, the averages for NP programs was a bit hard to find, and the variance is much more significant. The average tuition cost for 1 to 2 year MSN programs for public institutions is about $10,000 per year, and for private institutions is between $12,000 and $18,000 per year. And the average tuition cost for 3 to 4 year DNP programs is about $15,000 per year for public institutions and about $25,000 per year for private institutions. Now let's look at the average loan debt. According to educationdata.org, the average medical student graduates with about $235,000 worth of debt. What's important to consider with debt is interest rates. And as of the filming of this video, the average interest rate is about 8%. And that starts immediately when you start medical school, not when you finish. So it's literally building up the entire time you're in school. So for example, a physician with an initial loan of $200,000 will end up paying about $350,000 in repayments. And that's because of the interest over the lifespan of the loan. According to a 2023 study using data from the NCCPA's PA professional profile on 11,000 newly certified PAs, the average debt for new PAs is around $137,000, with roughly 14% reporting debt exceeding $200,000. And finally, according to the American Association of Colleges of Nursing, the median debt for graduating nursing students is between $40,000 and $55,000. Something to note here is that many NP programs allow nurses to work during NP school, which is not something that PAs or MDs or DOs can do. And that's one factor that contributes to the lower debt burden for NPs compared to doctors or PAs. Now that we've run through a bunch of numbers, let's put it all together and look at lifetime earning potential. So let's assume a doctor starts college at 18 years old, does 4 years of undergrad, gets into medical school, which on average can take 2 to 3 attempts, then does the 4 years of medical school and 4 years of residency. This means that they'll start residency at the age of 28 and become an attending physician by the age of 32. Now let's assume they work until the retirement age of 67 years old. That means you have 4 years of working as a resident and 35 years of working as an attending. On average, residents earn $65,000 per year with an increase of 3% per year of training. And we'll say the average physician salary is $445,000 per year. So over their entire career, they will earn about $15.5 million. Now let's look at a 27-year-old new grad PA. If they work for 40 years until they retire at the age of 67, at an average salary of $135,000 per year, they will earn about $5.4 million. And similarly, if we have an NP that finishes NP school at 27 years old and works for 40 years until they retire, at an average salary of $136,000 per year, they will earn about $5.4 million as well. Now, just for fun, I plugged all this data into ChatGPT to look at what the net profits will be after 5, 10, 20, and 35 years of practice. And here are the numbers it gave me. As you can see, after 5 years of being an attending, you'll earn about $1.75 million versus PAs and NPs are earning closer to $438,000 and $594,000 respectively. Now, before I get into the big takeaways of this video, I really want to give a big shout out to Merit. Merit was actually started by an anesthesiologist who was on a mission to democratize salary transparency. And all the data comes from verified clinicians. It's completely anonymous, so if you're a physician, PA, NP, CRNA, AA, I definitely recommend you contribute your own data. It helps you benchmark your pay over what your peers are making, and it also lets you see what's possible in terms of your own earning potential if you're planning on becoming a doctor, PA, or NP. Merit also has a bunch of different resources that can help you look at how different factors affect your compensation. Whether you're in training, negotiating your first contract, or you're just curious, make sure to go check out merithealth.com. And again, if you're already practicing, I really recommend that you contribute your own data because it really increases the culture of salary transparency, which is going to benefit all of us in the healthcare field. Merit also has some really cool features coming down the road that could help you land your next job. I'm really excited to see what they have in store for the future. So again, make sure to check out Merit. It's such an incredible resource, and it's been especially valuable to me, who's getting about halfway through their residency training now and will eventually have to start thinking about looking at my first job. It's free and always will be, no subscriptions, no paywalls. So again, make sure to check out Merit at merithealth.com, and thank you so much again to Merit for partnering up with me once again for this video. Now let's look at some big takeaways. First off, finances is just one thing to consider, but there are a lot of other things you need to think about when you're choosing between becoming a doctor, NP, or a PA. Every career has trade-offs, every career has pros and cons. You're gonna find things that you like, dislike, things that you want, don't want. So you really have to understand yourself and what you value most. What are you willing to compromise on to achieve your goals? If you wanna be an expert in your field with complete autonomy, no one overseeing you, then you should forget all the other factors and become a doctor. On the other hand, if you don't want that high of a level of responsibility and want to work in a more collaborative environment, then maybe being a PA is best for you. And if you want to have better work-life balance in your 20s and 30s and not have such a high debt burden, then maybe being an NP is the best choice for you. If your biggest goal is to have flexibility in your career, then being a PA or an NP is obviously going to be much better than being a physician. But the general blanket answer is that there's no right choice. You just have to choose the one that is best for you. When I decided I wanted to become a physician, I knew that wherever I worked, I wanted to be the person that everyone turned to in an emergency to look for guidance on what to do. For me, it felt like if I did anything less than that, it would feel like I was settling or limiting my potential. But that's just because of the mindset that I had going into this career. That might not be the way that you think or what's important to you. But I was also only 21 years old when I made that decision. So if you're a little bit older or further along in your career already and are wanting to go back into the healthcare field, then maybe being a PA or an NP would be a better choice for you. And then you take all that into consideration, add in things like geographic preferences, lifestyles, salaries, which of course Merit was very helpful for, and eventually you will land on the choice that is right for you. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please let me know in the comment section below. I'm thinking about doing a similar video comparing anesthesiologists, CRNAs, and CAAs. So if you guys want to see that, let me know as well. And if you're a physician, NP, or PA, or really anyone that works in healthcare, or I guess any other field, let me know in the comment section. Why did you choose your career? There are literally no wrong answers. Anyway, that's all I got for now. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.